All right, so we are live. Namaste, everyone. Good morning, and
Namaste.
Namaste, Dr. Krishna. Good to have you on this very, blissful day on Saturday. Everyone are busy with ending weekends work and everything, and today we are with a very good topic to share it with everyone, which is very must in every sector that we say, if it is maybe for professional work or maybe personal activities. So the topic that we have chosen is very important, and I'm sure you will be able to relate to it. Yeah, so with that,
Yeah,
namaste once again, everyone. My name is Lohitji Udyavar. I'm from Career Naksha. Just to give intro about Career Naksha, we are career counseling and career edtech company based out of Gujarat, Vadodara. So we are first graduated from MS University in Vadodara, so which is run by alumni of IITs and IIMs, IIMC, NITs, and MSU, along with world's leading career psychologists and counselors. And we provide services to the students, working professionals, HR professionals, industry experts. And Career Naksha is recognized under Startup India initiative and registered under the Companies Act of 2012. Also, we are awarded as the outstanding company under New India for Young India. So thank you so much for listening to us. And every month we conduct kind of informative sessions like this, where we provide knowledges to the knowledge sharing session for the students, for counselors, for psychologists, for working professionals, for whatever the industry they're from, right? So today we are with this new topic, listening. So why listening and how someone have to listen, so for which we have Dr. Krishna Kumari with us today, so who is MA in psychology and PhD in education sector from the MS University of Baroda, Gujarat. So basically a teacher, trainer, and administrator. So she rendered her service in various government and private organizations all across India in the last 30 years. So happy to share that two books that she published under her name on teacher training. So she believed strongly that her actions must speak louder than words. So currently, she is associated with a degree college as an academic counselor. She's very much passionate to learn and share. So she is none other than Dr. Supala Krishna Kumari, brings her 30 years of experience in teacher training administration across India. And today she is going to talk about listening, how someone must listen, how someone must you know implement or upgrade themselves in terms of listening, or upskill themselves if they are not a good listener. Right, so we'll do listen, but we sometimes we'll just hear. So what is the difference between hearing and listening? So there's so many things that Dr. Krishna going to share it with us today. So over to you. So all the platform is to you, Krishna, Dr. Krishna. So over to you.
yeah, right. Thank you, Lohit. Good morning, everybody present here. Actually, sorry for the delay. Some technical issue was there wherein we could not really put on in time. And this basic presentation, listening, the why and how, it involves why should we listen? And it is followed with why we don't listen and how should we listen and what are the effective ways in which we can listen. So we go in this four basic aspects in a systematic manner. We'll take up the first area, that is some basic information about listening. Communication basically has, listening, speaking, reading, and writing, which are called as basic skills. Listening itself is an art. It's a language ability, and it is considered to be the first language for any newborn child. And listening experience ultimately helps in complete development of a child. It forms the basis. And right listening definitely leads to right speaking. If you are able to listen properly, then this in turn reflects in our speaking also. And listening, it's a very complex skill. It has n number of sub skills. Like, just now Lohit was saying, uh, differences in between hearing and listening. We listen with our sense organs, auditory senses, which help in listening to n number of sounds that are present all around us. It can be noise of the fan or some child crying, or it can be some vehicle passing on, etc., etc. And then we try to attend to that particular sound, where we try to listen with our mind. We try to understand, get into the meaning of what exactly is being said. And we try to discriminate whether it is something related to us or not. And then try to interpret and then analyze and give some kind of response or the feedback. And also retain what is important to us out of the listened version or the speech. And wherever possible, we try to apply the same in our lives. Like, so many phases we have to pass through before we listen. This way it differs from hearing and listening. Senses and mind both are very much involved in listening. And good listening definitely leads to win win communication. So, good listening definitely somewhere it tries to support for effective communication. And why to listen? It's important definitely for our personal and professional growth. It helps to maintain very good interpersonal relationships at home and also at workplace. By having good listening capacities, most of our works run very smoothly and comfortably and successfully. We listen to understand other person's perspective and also try to get into the intentions of the speaker. It could be a preacher, a lawyer, a teacher, a friend, a relative, a well wisher. So, what exactly they are trying to speak in? For that, good listening is very important, and we get into the intentions of the speaker. It also helps to build a trust in between the speaker as well as the listener. Thereby, it helps to boost the confidence, and it tries to build in ultimately good relationship. And by listening, we also get new information, and we gain new knowledge, and new insights can be obtained. And with respect to Career Naksha and all the audience who are present here, in the form of counselors, we try to discuss, talk with the clients or the counselee. Therefore, for them, it is very important, like during listening, what is relevant, what is significant has to be definitely looked into. And we must know when the other person is speaking, what are his feelings and opinions. And we have to foster empathy in the other person. We must know where exactly the shoe pinches. This empathetic behavior definitely makes our communication and listening very much effective. Misconceptions can be avoided through good listening. And if any miscommunications or some gaps, misunderstandings, they can be totally avoided, they can be traced out. And based on all these good listening capacities, we can go for better decisions. And it results in very good productivity. I mean, the ultimate goal that which we have taken up before listening that can be achieved successfully. And usually it is said, man has two ears and one mouth. Therefore, I think we have to hear twice before we speak or as much as we speak. Good listening is equivalent to good remembering. Therefore, good listening is very important in order to remember for a longer time. But sometimes, somehow, we don't listen. Why we don't listen? We are saying listening is very important for us. It is sound. It is some kind of verbal decoding and all. And listening is usually undermined. It is undervalued. We don't pay much attention to it. Maybe there are certain barriers which do not allow us to listen. And these could be in the form of environmental barriers, some noises, unnecessary noises which are blocking or hindering the clear listening capacities. There could be some physiological barriers also, wherein listening, as I told earlier, it is related to the hearing capacities, that is, auditory, sensory organs are helpful. There could be some structural or functional deformities which bring in some kind of physiological barriers. And apart from that, it could be semantic barrier also, wherein the verbal aspects, the jargon used, or the new terminology that is used may not be really interesting to the listener. This forms a basic, barrier. And it could be in the form of some psychological barriers, wherein the listener is busy with his own selective listening. Like he intends to listen in the areas in which he is interested. And the listener might have some negative listening attitudes, non adjustment abilities, or non adjusting capacities, and also responding very personally to the listened areas. Personal reactions definitely demotivate listening, and poor motivation definitely we don't feel like listening. And apart from that, some premature decisions where we have preconceptions, notions, preconceived notions, wherein we try to jump to conclusions before we listen. We don't listen, we do not have time, we do not have patience, we are not interested in the topic. We have negative type of attitude towards listening, wherein we give less importance to listening. And then looking into two areas as to what is listening and why we don't listen, let me look into the ways as to how to listen. And definitely the body parts, ears are helping us to hear the message, and body is also helping while listening. Eyes are there to look into the non-verbal cues, which are in the form of gestures, facial expressions, tone, etc. They aid in listening. And apart from that, we have to also look into the intuition. What exactly the speaker would like to say. He might be expressing it with his words, but inside or behind the screen, there could be some other meaning hidden, wherein the listener must be able to catch that. And presence of mind, some common sense definitely is needed, and we have to get at the meaning. There must be a purpose for which we are listening, and what is the relevant message we are going to take out of it and construct a meaning out of our listening. And for listening, definitely there are certain elements which aid in good listening. Audibility, when listening, definitely the audible range must be good enough. It depends upon to whom we are listening to, how many number of persons are there, and what is our audibility and voice level must be. And if it is 1:1 person, then in the form of counseling or so, individual counseling, audibility must be so that we must be able to listen in a very clear manner. And also some kind of distinctiveness must be there. And pronunciation is again another important area wherein which makes our listening very clear. And also managing with the voice control is another basic element, and making an eye contact or contact with the audience and our content, that it must be filled with content verbs, they aid in listening. These basically form the elements. Looking into these areas, let us see how again one has to be very active and attentive while listening. Of course, there are other forms of listening also: passive listening, informational listening, critical listening, evaluative listening, empathetic listening, etc. As a counselor, active listening, empathetic listening, or therapeutic listening, and critical listening, wherein we are going to evaluate, and informational listening, they are very important. And these are to be essentially used by the counselor. And eye contact has to be maintained, and also understanding non-verbal cues, as I said earlier, is important. And some kind of paraphrasing as we listen, some kind of internal paraphrasing or some idea building activity must be going on within our minds while listening. And while listening, we can as well share similar experiences, if any, and also provide appropriate feedback where necessary. And some open ended questions have to be raised. And being empathetic is very much essential. Providing appropriate feedback and sharing similar experiences builds in some kind of confidence in the speaker. And they think, yes, we are sailing in the same boat and we can share our ideas or conflicts, and the person is going to help, or the communication is going to be fruitful. We do listen, we don't listen. Why we don't listen? And what are barriers we have already seen? But while listening, there are certain areas which make us not to listen. What could these be? They could be very unpleasant speeches sometimes, very lengthy speeches, wherein, usually it is said, psychological research says that 20-25 minutes is the time wherein one can listen very effectively. Beyond it, it becomes difficult. Or, when such long speeches are there, they can be interfered with some kind of activities or interactions or some raise of questions, etc. And repeated speeches, they also, again, another thing which doesn't help us, which are not required while listening. And irrelevant speeches and tedious speeches or comments on personality, which we do not prefer, and showing disrespect while listening, and some abrupt changes within the topic, distraction from the topic, what we are intended to talk, what is the subject of talk, we try to avoid and divert the track. This also doesn't help in good listening. And talking in terms of other people's interests, this also one of the don'ts in listening. And we can improve our listening definitely. And as I told earlier, active participation on the part of the listener is very much important. Attentive listening, and also adjusting, and also making the speaker more comfortable while talking is important. And while listening, suppose for a counselor or a teacher, a note taking or writing the summary in the form of a mind map is very important. This way, we need not miss any aspect of it. I mean, every point can be covered. And to improve listening, nowadays we have n number of audiobooks on internet wherein we can listen and train ourselves to look into the main ideas, and also understand the minute details and try to extract the inferences. And now I wish that our friends raise some questions and give the feedback. Here I end my presentation.
Thank you so much, Dr. Krishna. I mean, it was in detail and very explanatory. Thank you so much. So,
Yeah,
it's something that really I can able to resonate is journaling, very much important, and mind mapping, which I every
yeah,
time use. Right. So
right.
short. My mom used to say short writing. Right.
Yeah,
So she also
yes.
from teaching background, and she
Okay.
also learned those short typing. Those
Yes,
elements. So
yes,
very important because we listen to people, and when we do the career counseling, the counselee or the candidate or the student keep on sharing everything, and we
yes,
won't be able to write each and every
yes,
point so fast. So it's very important that we should identify how we can write in a
yes.
very short in a short manner, so that we
Yeah,
will remember later words,
yeah.
right, and will not
That
miss out
image,
any.
that
Yes.
image helps us to give the entire essence. Like, Chinese proverb says, one picture is equal
Right.
to 1,000 words.
Right,
So
right.
this can
That's
be
true.
connected to this. Yes.
Very good. And whenever I go to schools and interact with the students, so I have seen even when I take the normal career counseling with parents, so parents always come and can say my kid is not able to take notes. It's always incomplete. They get during the PTM they get blasting from teachers or they complain. So why there isn't challenge? So I think most of the students have these kind of challenges even when I was
Yes.
in the education sector, like even when I was studying. So I had a couple of friends who is not able to take the notes completely immediately. They
Yes.
used to, I remember the history teacher of mine.
Huh.
So that, the lecturer used to write so fast and
Yes.
couple of words were not able to recognize, but still we used to write, and then I used to immediately go and refer the textbook. But I had a couple of my friends who is they're half written, right? So but still they not take a they don't know what to do now because it's
Right.
all gone. So I think this is something that I think mind mapping or short writing a very important place, very important role. Who is not able to take a complete notes, then you can go back and refer with your
Yes.
friends what is something that I have missed, and recall those stuff and write in a
Yes.
new book or complete in that
Yeah.
place. So that's really interesting. That's really great that.
Paraphrasing is also very important. Paraphrasing while listening is very
Hmm.
important. Once you complete listening session,
Hmm.
paraphrasing definitely helps. This is
Oh,
another added part for it. Yeah.
perfect. Right. So I
Yes.
have one question. So Meenakshi
Yeah.
Srinivasan asking, are there any specific ways to mind mapping?
Yes, of course. See, it depends upon, like for a client, there could be a number of problems. So that's problem can be put in the center point, and other things can be linked to it. Like when you're talking to the client, what are the other areas? What is the main problem that can be put in the center position or that can be focused, and other areas that are present there, they can be linked with it. And how these are going to affect the main point, they can be later on, with a little bit of detailing, we can take it up. There are flow charts, there are some pictures, some bubbles, some kind of squares, rectangles, which indicate a particular thing. Mind mapping, we get templates also online, and we can as well develop our own templates, which helps in this counseling part. Yeah.
Right, right, great. Just to add on Meenakshi's question, so Meenakshi, I believe you heard Dr. Krishna, and it depends on the situation to situation and for what reason using mind mapping.
Yes.
And there are very interesting sketch notes available.
Yeah.
Maybe I would, so I'm big follower and have attended this person's in sessions as well. So I'm just going to my Insta. Let me just see if I can able to share this person. So I'm not doing any promotional thing, but I have attended. So this person yesterday I was going through his reel. He explained the one of the history information uh, in mind mapping. It was
Okay.
so interesting. I'll just
Yeah.
see if I can able to share. Meanwhile, if any other questions, if anyone have, so you can just uh, share it with us. I think his name is Piyush. So,
Okay.
yeah. So, I'll share maybe in the comments section, so you can probably can watch. So if you just put Piyush, in Insta, so you'll get sketch notes, those informations and
Yeah.
everything, storyboarding, right? So interesting, and there are a couple of free mind map tools available. You can
Yes.
download and you can
Yeah.
make use of that, and it will be very interesting that you can perform your activities. Yes. Any further questions from anyone? All right. So if not, I have a couple of questions. Okay. Thank
Yeah.
you. Okay. Meenakshi is saying thank you, Krishna ma'am. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. And also, I just want to say, like now being a counselor, so
Yeah.
listening plays very important role. Now, if
Yes.
any counselors having difficulty or lack of listening skills, so what is that 5 or 2, 3 tips that you want to share it with them so that they can improve their listening skills?
For this, actually, training is very important. Any all the counselors have almost taken up training for their counseling sessions, and what we are going to do, our major objective is to guide the student and counsel them. But before that, we are going to listen to the client or the counselee. For
Hmm.
that, If we are with any school or any student, so basically they have problem with respect to their studies or some kind of emotions which are not allowing them to look into their successful studies, or they might be having difficulty in choosing their careers. Under such circumstances, the main problem, major problem that is coming up, that has to be linked up with the alternative solutions, and which can be shared with the client, and later on out of those the most appropriate one could be taken. In this way we can help the client or the counselee. Little bit of exercise, little bit of researching is definitely needed behind it. It's not a one time thing that you can directly give some answer. A little bit of researching on that part is needed, then we can definitely help. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Thank you so much. Now,
Yeah.
when it comes to the student, normally
Yeah.
there we say like chanchala, right? Like they get distracted to very
Yeah.
early, and
Yeah.
when very important things that happens, we keep on saying, being a teacher, you must have have seen. So they pretend like okay, they're listening, but
Yeah.
when share important pointers during okay, these some exam, the questions will come, or these are chapter that you must read for the exam,
Yeah.
but they pretend like they're listening, but later maybe they're gonna check with their friends. So now
Yeah.
if they have this kind of issues like listening issues or challenges, what is that, some tips that you want to share with those
Huh.
students, how they can improve?
Yes. So, in fact, what is happening is nowadays within classroom also we are having more number of strength. And
Mm,
definitely in an average class, if it is a heterogeneous class, we have below average, above average, and normal average students. So the problem comes with the below average students most of the time. Average and above average students are good enough. They can take
mm,
up, they can catch the things and do it on their own. But with
mm,
respect to the below average students, they try to ignore or neglect whatever the teacher is saying, and later on they want to look into. And
mm,
since the teacher knows the interests and the mode of, there are certain things which are called as learning styles. Their
mm,
interests are also known to the teacher. So based on that, in case if the teacher makes certain modifications, and then accordingly help the student as to how the this particular student or this group of students or this category can be helped better, teacher has to think. Okay, so some alternatives, some learning styles have to be, strategies have to be adopted, wherein it can be made more interesting. Students will listen definitely, but teacher has to put in efforts. It's on the part of the teacher to look into these areas and then take a decision, take a call on that.
mm, mm,
So
mm,
it's not that easy. It's not that easy. So it's a task on the part of the teacher, and it can be solved. It's not that we cannot do it. It's not impossible. Definitely, the teacher has to do. And since the teacher is already in touch with the students, and she knows the behavior and the attitude of the students. She knows. He or she, they know the behavioral aspects of the students. So accordingly, they can modify and give it and see. Some kind of trial and error also has to be taken up. If the things are going good, if the results are good, then such modifications can be taken up. Challenges are there, they can be resolved, not a big issue. Yeah.
okay. All right, understood. Thank you so much, Dr. Krishna, for that. All right,
Yeah.
so I think we don't have any more questions. So, any last
Yes.
word that you want to share, before we end this stream?
Yeah. So I tell my all friends, audience, thank you for the opportunity given by Career Naksha. Only thing is, we have to have a lot of patience and also time. I recall one incident. I would like to share it with my audience and you. There is a film, there is a movie, Telugu movie, in which two persons are speaking together, and one person is immersed. He is with his only preoccupied notions, and psychologically he is little bit disturbed, and the other person, his well-wisher, happens to come and see him and then say something. But ultimately, as I said, the first person will not be able to listen to him, and he raises a question. So the second person wants to know whether the first person had understood or not. So he raises a question from his interaction. He says, "No, what is this?" He says, "I think you don't understand. Let me say it again so that you listen perfectly." Then he says, "Listening one time is very difficult. Now you want to say it for the second time?" "No, no, I do not want to listen." So my point is, listening needs a lot of patience. And nowadays, everybody is busy with their own works. We don't find time. We're not that patient enough. we are running at the back of our work. So, in order to listen to our students, or friends, or children, or relatives, or well wishers, or any teacher, preacher, we have to have time also and patience also. And interesting areas are there, they keep your attention focused. Otherwise, it becomes a little difficult to focus. Yeah, these are my concluding words.
Sure, definitely. That's rightly said. Need more patience, and I feel it's how mindful you are. If you
Yeah,
go through so many thoughts in your mind, so
yeah,
the research says in 1 minute we get lakhs of thoughts. So
yeah.
how mindfully you're present at that moment. So
Yes.
simple technique or simple tool that definitely you're gonna listen. If you're
Mm,
not present, but you're there's so many thoughts and you're flowing along with that thoughts, that definitely your body is
yes.
present at this moment, but your mind is not
Mind is
at
absent.
that moment.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
So that's why
that's
even in classrooms also teachers used to say, be physically present and also mentally present.
right, right,
Yeah.
true. So be mindful, and definitely you'll be. It's not a rocket science that you need to
Yes.
learn these skills and everything. So if you're being mindful and be present in mind at that moment, and you show a little bit of patience and find the the importance of that talk, and
Yeah.
definitely you'll be still able
Yes.
to sail that way. Yeah,
Yes.
thank you so much, Dr. Krishna. It's a pleasure to have you
Thank
and sharing very important aspect in all the areas, being it professional or personal. So listening
Yeah.
very plays very important
Yes.
role even in the relationship as well. So thank you
Yes.
so much for sharing all your experience of over 30 years. Thank you. It's
Yeah.
a pleasure. And we're gonna have you in our upcoming session. So, we're looking forward to hear more from you
Yes.
in this journey. Great. Thank you so
Yes.
much, our
Sure. Thank you.
viewers. Thank you.
Thank
So
you.
thank you so
Thank you.
much, our viewers, for listening to us. And Career Naksha, as I mentioned, so we are career counseling and career edtech company. We are providing, uh, all the services for the students, corporate professionals, HR professionals. So some examples like for students, psychometric assessments that we provide, career counseling, in the university admissions or abroad educations, profile building, internship, skill development workshops, expert talks like that we are conducting online today, and educational fairs, and industrial visits, all these kind of services that we conduct in our survey, in our platform. And to know more information about our service or to connect with us, you can simply go to or visit our website, careernaksha.com, or you can visit our social media platform to connect with us to know more information about our services and our achievements. Yeah. So with that, so happy weekend to everyone, and you have good day and be safe. And we'll see you next time for sure. Thank you so much. Thank you.